welcome again to another episode of Nolzur's Marvelous Tutorials with RealmSmith. We're so excited to be here for episode 29. We're almost at episode 30. Believe it or not, pretty crazy. I am having some sort of delay here. Just give me 1 sec. That's better, I think. 1 sec. Totally having a... and I'm pretty sure it's because I've got... There we go. That's better. Sorry about that, folks. We're really super excited today. We've got lots going on. At first, before we start anything at all, let's go through some announcements. I'm still getting audio here. What is going on? There we go. That's better. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of D&D's Nolzur's Marvelous Tutorials with RealmSmith. Today, we have a huge treat for you guys. We're painting a couple of our PC minis from our Into the Mist campaign. You can see that there's a bit of a mess at the table here. This is my setting up for tomorrow's episode 2 of Into the Mist on the D&D Twitch and on the RealmSmith Twitch. And so you can check that out tomorrow night. Make sure that you do. We'll talk a bit about that more in a second. First off, I want to thank our partners, of course, D&D for hosting us tonight, as usual. Vallejo for providing us all this awesome paint and sponsoring the channel, as well as WizKids for providing the incredible miniatures that we paint on a daily basis. Or on a weekly basis, I should say. We'll show you those minis in a second. Not just yet, because, again, there's a little bit of a surprise there. Want to thank Sirenscape. So Sirenscape, we've been playing music from theirs and sound sets from them on a weekly basis. This is the kind of ongoing... It just makes it a bit more interesting while I'm painting and a bit more dynamic. Our boxes, if you're interested in our monthly subscription boxes, basically they're adventure boxes that you send away, that you subscribe to. We send you everything you need on an ongoing campaign every single month. Super immersive, super fun. So you can check those out at realmsmith.tv. And if you use the promo code IWantAdventure, that is a new Twitch follower. If you use the code IWantAdventure, that will unlock a $20 off coupon that you can use for your first box. If you see here, this little potion bottle will light up every time you follow. So if you like what you see, please follow on D&D Twitch. And if you follow us on RealmSmith, you'll light up that little potion bottle. We've been getting tons of followers since last week's episode premiere of Into the Mist. For D&D Beyond, we're painting our character minis for our campaign that is live on the D&D Twitch and our Twitch. And so for that, if you overlay the video right now, you'll actually get, on the RealmSmith channel, you'll get character information that you can check out for the characters that we'll be painting tonight for the players, for the characters that the players will be playing tomorrow night on our session. Tomorrow night, Into the Mist, it is 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Thank you for the follow. And here is the intro to that show right now, so check it out. Once again, that is Into the Mist every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the D&D Twitch and on our Twitch and Facebook and our YouTube as well. We're trying to multi-stream because everybody's playing nice now. So you can check that out tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time. Like I said, we're painting 2 of our minis from that show tonight. The first one is Callie, who is an Aasimar rogue, and we're using the WizKids Aasimar Paladin miniature tonight. She's a rogue, but we're going to paint her up like Callie so that she fits the character that we're using for tomorrow night's stream. As well, we are featuring the very first look at the WizKids Warforged miniature. Don't even have a render that we can put on the screen right now. So we're using the Warforged miniature, we're using the Aasimar Paladin mini, as well as some Vallejo brushes and some water for cleaning your brushes and diluting your paint. Of course, paper towel for wiping off and dry brushing, and then a palette for mixing paints. We have a large range of paints today. We've got silver and gunmetal, glorious gold for the metallic areas, sepia wash and black wash for adding shadow and contrast to our minis, heavy sienna, leather brown, and tan for kind of the leather pouches and some of the more earthy brown areas, off-white for the eyes. And then we've got cadmium skin, rosy flesh, and flesh wash for the skin and for Callie's hair. Electric blue for Sterling's eyes. Somber gray for some of the gray and darker leather areas, as well as camouflage green and yellow olive for Sterling's cloak. All right, so here we go first. Aasimar Paladin. This is the Aasimar Paladin from, and it's an awesome, bad dad joke, sorry. Me with the dad jokes all the time. But we have, it's an awesome mini. We're going to use him for Callie. Callie is here on the screen, as you can see. And she's got long hair in the miniature, but that's okay. We're going to do it rose gold hair, and it's going to look great. So that's that. And then, for the first time ever, the WizKids Warforged miniature. They sent me one. It is going to be pre-painted and released soon, I believe. But they sent me an early print prototype of it so that I could paint it up for you folks and use it on our stream. So again, this is exclusive and first-time view of that Warforged miniature. Hope you guys enjoy that, especially for those of you that play Eberron. So this is Sterling from our stream. So we are going to start with the Warforged. Let me see here. What have we got? I'm also in the chat here, folks. So both on Twitch and Facebook, on both channels, just in case you guys wanted to ask any questions, you have any thoughts. Josh is awesome, says that light was from me. It sure was. So whenever you guys follow us on the RealmSmith Twitch, like I said, you'll light this little potion bottle that is to my left here. So follow away, and we love to have you guys join us for tomorrow's episode. The first episode was gangbusters. People loved it. We're getting tons of follows, tons of views, and so we're super excited for episode tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. It's our Curse of Strahd campaign. All right, so heavy sienna. So the idea behind painting minis, and what I like to do, is I paint from the inside out, basically painting the deepest areas, the deepest recessed areas first, which would be all of this sinewy area under the plates of armor. So we're going to go with heavy sienna. We're going to do that first, just to kind of get that out of the way. We're going to use a zero brush for that, because obviously it's an area of high detail, or a smaller detailed area. Here we go. So we've got kind of in there. I'm not too worried about hitting some of the other areas like the plates and so on. We're going to be painting over that later anyways, so I'm not too concerned about that. Hopefully you folks can see that okay. I might turn up the light here a little bit. Shed some more light on the situation. There we go. We're also working out a new studio. We built some studio facades for our new stream and for this as well, and new lighting. So let us know what you think of all the upgrades. So I'm just going to go through and paint this heavy sienna into all of these recesses. All on the back here. He doesn't have any on his legs. That's all metal. But it does go around the side here. So I just want to make sure I get kind of around the back area. And again, the reason why we paint from the inside out is because we want to make sure that, you know, because if we were to leave those till later, when we come back to paint those later, we'd mess them all up. If we painted, or we'd mess up the kind of the plate areas or the areas closer to the surface pretty badly while we're trying to kind of get into those nooks and crannies. So I want to make sure. There we go. So that is most of it. Now sterling is a silvery color, like you can see, and you can see the brown area under his chin there. That's what we're trying to emulate on this miniature. And he basically has that kind of musculature in all of his kind of seams, if it were, as it were, not if it were. Back here on his elbow area, the back of his arm. If you have a question, folks, make sure that you put write question in front of your question in caps so that I can see it as it's scrolling through here on the comments. I want to make sure that I catch everyone's questions or comments. Puppy Lover says, loving my adventure box. That's awesome. I'm glad that you are. We met at PAX. Actually, she subscribed to PAX, so welcome and thanks for joining the realm. Hello, Abo. Man, everybody's on here. Oso, Josh is awesome. B. Fisher. And yeah, so if you guys want to catch episode 1, you want to catch up before tomorrow night's episode, you can go to the YouTube, the RealmSmith YouTube at realmsmith.tv, at youtube.com/RealmSmith, the D&D YouTube, or either of our Twitches, it's on there as well. So you guys can catch it in all those places to catch up before tomorrow night's episode 2, which was so much fun. We had such a blast. Okay, I think that's all of it, actually. Oh, I'm getting some under his knee here, I think. Under his knee plate. There's some of that kind of musculature. Now, Warforged are obviously constructs created for battle. The story behind Sterling is that he is a boy whose soul was transferred to the shell of a Warforged. And Brandon Perkins is playing him, and he is doing an incredible job. It's fairly unsettling and kind of creepy and heartwarming all at the same time. It's really cool. I'm also going to go ahead and create or paint this shield heavy sienna as well, just to kind of base coat that to make it more of a kind of wooden texture, I think is what I'm going to go for here on the inside of the shield. And then we'll do metal on the outside. Still using my small brush here, but typically I would use a little larger of a brush, but it's a quick area that we just want to get in and get out of that. And that's the heavy sienna on there, and then we can dry brush that. We're going to wash it and dry brush it with some other stuff as well. I'll also do the inside of the shield. Again, not too concerned at this point, folks, to get it onto neighboring areas, because we're going to be painting those areas anyways. It's a little hard to get in here, but there it is. Is there anybody out there that plays a Warforged or was really excited about this WizKids Warforged mini? And also, where's everybody from? Love to hear where you guys are at in the world. Now, it is not easy to get in there, so I'm going to take it off the holder here. In these situations, sometimes is when a holder isn't so great because you're trying to bend the miniature in areas and get under something, and it's difficult to do when it's on it. I'm just jamming my brush in here, just trying to cover the inside of that shield. There we go. Like I said, this Warforged will be released as a pre-painted miniature. I'm assuming as part of a blister. And like I said, WizKids graciously sent me a kind of a pre-release version so that we could paint him live here for you folks. Okay, that is the heavy sienna on him. We'll go over to Callie. I'm also batch painting. Batch painting obviously is when you use similar colors across multiple miniatures. That way you just save time on cleaning your brush and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna go in and do some of the brown areas that I need to on her. And again, some of those deeper areas that she has on her that we're going to use. Now, some of them are higher, so batch painting sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. Almighty Bob says, I'd love to know if the intense music does anything to your technique calm. You're from Glasgow, Scotland. Well, welcome from Glasgow, Scotland. That is on my wish list of places to visit. Greetings from the UK as well. I love listening to epic fantasy music while I paint. Kind of puts me in the mood, in the mode, in the right mindset while painting adventures. That's always kind of been something for me. I'll often watch Critical Role or another stream as well, maybe like a podcast or two. But no, I think I mean, painting for me is so therapeutic. That I'm using heavy sienna, folks. It's an extra opaque paint. It goes on nice and thick in one coat, and that is from the Vallejo Game Color line. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I don't find it unrelaxes me. I find that it gets me amped, gets me kind of in the mind of the character, as silly as that sounds. Gets me in the zone. So I'm just painting her boots this color because I imagine they'd be like a dark brown leather. I'm going kind of like a gray and leather, kind of earthy tones for her armor and for her gear here. It's kind of the approach I'm taking. I'm just laying down the base coat here. So that's pretty good for her boots. Even though her, like, I don't call it a loincloth, but basically her tabard that hangs down here, even though that's going to be kind of a lighter brown, I am going to base coat it in this heavy sienna. Heavy sienna is always a good base coat, or any of the extra opaque paints. Whenever you can use those for base coat, you're better off. Just because, like I said, they go on so thick and they provide such a great base for everything else. So I'm just going to go through and base coat that. Just like that. Okay. And I'm going to do a lot of these belts and pouches and such too in the same color scheme. But again, you know, she has such a big area of gray, and also imagine this paladin this is all like metal armor. I'm actually making it look not metal. I'm trying to get it to look, I'm actually gonna move to a larger brush here, try to get the coverage going. kind of painting them so that they look like leather instead of metal. Now this is when you just kind of jab your brush in here and hope to get the back of this tabard. There we go. And then obviously the back will be the same as well. And then with her pink kind of rose gold hair and that flawless Aasimar skin, it'll really be a contrast against these kind of light, dark, earthy tones. That's kind of the intention. Melanie Hepburn, who plays Callie on our stream, is taking a really cool approach, and somebody actually called it the princess. What was it? The what do they call it? The princess effect, or the princess something? Anyways, the idea that, you know, she's an Aasimar, and so everybody sees her as this like glorious, you know, divinely touched being, and asks her for help all the time, and birds are singing and squirrels are all that kind of stuff, kind of like the princess, sort of the plight of a princess, as it were. And but Callie is kind of reluctant. She doesn't want that life, even though she's been given those abilities. So she kind of keeps to herself and is a bit reluctant. Doesn't like people too much. Likes to drink. And so she's kind of playing Callie that way, which is a really fun take on an Aasimar. Typically, people play Aasimars as these kind of like noble, you know, heroic characters, and she wanted to play something with some juxtaposition, and she's doing a really great job of doing it. So it's fun. So we're trying to capture that in this for sure. I'm just base coating all the areas that are going to be brown, even if they're going to be kind of more of a lighter leather brown. I still want to base coat them this way, just so those tones still continue to come through, and I don't have to do as much work with base coating on leather brown, because the heavy CN is going to cover a lot better than that. How many times have you mentioned a mini just to get it? Have you repainted a mini? I've never repainted a mini just to get it right. That's from the Mighty Firebeard. Again, if you're asking a question, guys, just make sure that you write question first, just because it helps me to kind of see it as we're going through the comments here and as they're kind of flying by. I said I wasn't going to do all of these, and you know what? I'm not. She does have shoulder pauldrons, I think they are, that are going to be brown, so I will do those, but I'm not going to do all the straps. I'll come back and do those after, just because I'm going to try and get in there with the gray color I want to use for the armor, and it's just not going to... There. Yeah, I've never repainted a mini, I don't think. You know, and I do it the first time, and it kind of, even when I was coming up and kind of learning how to do things, I always just kind of let them go and learned from them, and then moved on to the next. I'm just not a person who tends to I'm a perfectionist in the moment, unless I'm trying to paint 2 miniatures in 2 hours. I'm a perfectionist for the most part in most of what I do, but and it can be a curse. Obviously, but after the fact, I rarely come back to my work, and that's pretty much just a personality trait for me. I'll revise or improve if I have to do the same thing again, but I rarely come back and redo something I've done before. I'd like to know how many of you folks do that. How many of you folks aren't happy with a miniature and end up kind of stripping it or repriming it and coming back and finishing it? Okay, so that is, she's got lots of that kind of heavy sienna area on her. Oh, this, I am going to make this hood part of this tabard that's coming out the bottom of her armor here. Make sure I base coat that. There. Very cool. Such a cool miniature. There we have it. That is the heavy sienna. We're going to come back to our Warforged friend, Sterling. I think before, let's do the, I decide if I should do the metal areas or if I should do the cloak first, because both of them kind of have some deep areas there. I think I'm going to do the metal first because I think it's going to be easier to get in and do the cloak. So for the metal areas, we're going to start with gunmetal as a base coat. Gunmetal is a color from the Vallejo line. Put that in the palette. Oh, sorry folks, I'm getting behind on the comments here. Go up a bit. No, I'm planning to finish both today, puppy lover. I'm trying to do 2 minis in 2 hours. Let's see how we do. I tried, but I got super uptight. What's the secret to letting you relax while painting minis? So painting minis for me is just relaxing in general. But I think posture has a lot to do with it. A good chair, good kind of hand technique or resting. When I paint a miniature, I'll use a mini holder a lot of times, and that'll just help me to not strain my hands. Make sure that you hold it high enough so that you're not putting stress on your neck. Good lighting, like all of those those ways help to kind of not make the experience too laborious on your body and stressful, and helps to kind of relax your brain, your mind, so that you're kind of prepared for. So you're kind of prepared for painting. I don't know if that helps, but if I have it. Hey, Jason, and all the RealmSmith team. Happy New Year! Finally getting into the same old groove after the holidays. First stream I've caught in a while. Just wanted to say hi. Well, you got a call back. Thanks, Ask MP. Good to see you. Okay, gunmetal. Here we go. Now the gunmetal, the metallic paints tend to be a little thick in the Vallejo line, which is good. You can always dilute paint. You can't always make it thicker. So, in fact, rarely can you ever make it thicker. So, I'm okay with having a little bit of a thicker paint because I can just dilute to my heart's content. But if it's too thick, and if you don't dilute enough, it will clog all the details in this Warforged. And you know, if you get the pre-painted Warforged from WizKids when this one comes out, you'll always have the opportunity to repaint the pre-painted if you wanted to. If you wanted to kind of follow my lead here, or if there's certain areas you'd like to change or customize, then maybe this will help you to do that. Now I'm just going to go through and basically base coat all of the metal plates on this Warforged here with this gunmetal color. Is there anybody out there who's running Curse of Strahd? Any challenges you've had? Any fun stories? Any players you've killed? Or characters you've killed? Not players. Please don't kill your players. And don't kill your characters either. I mean, if they die, fine, but I mean, as DMs, we're never the ones that kill them, right? We're always the ones that just, things happen. We're the facilitators of death, not the death bringers. Right? Hey, Phoenix Wolf King, welcome back. Dungeoneros, hello from Spain. Hello! Spain, I'm Portuguese. You're our European neighbor. I mean, I was born here, but my heritage is Portuguese. My parents came, so I'm first generation Canadian. Okay, so some of this is hard because of this shield, so just trying to get around the side here. Try and do. I'm diluting every time I go to get a little bit of gunmetal. I'm adding a little bit of water just to make it a little easier on myself. And I totally missed an area of that sinew on the hip here. So where the quad or the leg meets the hip, there is an area back here that I missed. So I'm probably going to go back and address that. And behind the knee there too. Oh, and inside the inner leg. Man, I missed all kinds of spots back there. I'm gonna go back quick. The nice thing about Vallejo paint is that it stays wet in the palette a lot longer than some of the other paints on the market. So I like that, because if I'm base coating like this and I realize, oh man, I totally missed the spot, I can come back and still address it using the paint that's still on my palette without even using a wet palette. There, that worked. There we go. Okay, let's go back in here with the gunmetal. And if there's anybody out there who's never painted before and you bought some WizKids unpainted minis and you want to kind of give it a go, but you're a little afraid to kind of mess them up or whatever, don't worry about that. Never worry about messing up your miniatures. Just take a chance. There's lots of tutorials out there. We have a ton of tutorials on our YouTube page, youtube.com/RealmSmith, all the VOD, so all 28 episodes of our show are up there. Maybe 27. I don't think last week's got out there just yet, but lots of content up there. Follow the steps and you'll be amazed at what you can come up with. We do live painting tutorials. We take this show kind of live on the road to all the conventions, and not all of them, but a lot of the conventions. And it's amazing how, just by following the tutorials and following the simple steps and techniques, how similar people who have been painting for 10 years and people who just painted their first miniature actually are. You can get really great, and that was kind of, the reason why I did this show is to show people that within 2 hours you could paint some pretty awesome miniatures and get some really decent results, even in a short amount of time. Okay. Almost done. The gunmetal base coat. Just working on the chest here. Warforged is such a cool concept. It's actually really exciting and fun to bring a Warforged out of Eberron and into a Curse of Strahd campaign. Now Sterling, who again, Brandon plays Sterling in our stream, is a Warforged. He, his character was, like I said, a child who was, I won't give it away, watch the first episode, but he's a child whose soul was put into a Warforged body. That's all I won't tell you the circumstances with which that occurred, but that is the basic premise, and it's so cool. Brandon plays it so well. It's really going to be interesting to see how our players interact with this child who's in this killing machine body. Very cool concept. Hello, Bodhi. What is Phoenix Wolf King always has great questions for me. Jason, what is your favorite monster species in D&D? My favorite are demons and devils monster species. Great question. What is my favorite monster species? You know, I'm gonna go cheesy and I'm gonna say dragons. Freaking love dragons. I've always been a big fan, and they're so fun and interesting. There's so many different types and styles, and I guess maybe just as a kid, it was always the quintessential creature that you end up fighting, and you always kind of strive to slay that dragon. So I'm gonna go cheesy answer, and I'm gonna say dragons is my favorite monster race or type. But I mean, frankly, there's so many cool monsters in D&D that it's hard to like pick. Everybody asks, what's your favorite monster? Well, I mean, there's so many cool ones, and they're so cool for their own reasons and so cool in their own kind of circumstance. And there are monsters that I had no idea I'd really enjoy kind of in general, and all of a sudden I put them into my campaign and they really come to life, and the players love them or hate them, and it just really helps to kind of bring out the personality and the feeling of that monster. Obviously, vampires is a big part of Curse of Strahd. Spoiler warnings. Pretty sure you guys probably already know that. So I'm having fun looking into that lore and kind of figuring out, you know, what are the cool kind of typical tropes or ideas and concepts behind vampires that I can use and lean on. But then, what are also some new ways to play them? What are some things that, you know, aren't typical ways to run a vampire and all of that sort of thing. But yeah, Sterling's so cool. Okay, I think Brandon's on the stream. I think I saw him say thank you. Not sure. Oozes are the best. I do love oozes. That is true. Oozes are fun. Man, there's just so many cool creatures over so many years. Now, okay, so obviously you can see that Sterling's probably going to be a quicker mini to finish. He's, you know, when you get a character that's limited color palette, it tends to go a little faster. Takes a little bit of time to do these base coats, but then when we add our washes and then our highlights, they really start to come out. I'm trying to dilute my paints a decent amount so that I'm getting the detail still through here. Like I said, just make sure that you folks do that when you're painting metallics. Just because the pigments, you know, the actual metallic flakes in there make the paint a bit more viscous or thicker. So sometimes it requires a little bit more dilution. There we go. Perfect. Okay. All right, so that is mostly done. His face. I don't think I've missed much of his body. Maybe his fist in the back here, but I think I've missed most of his body. I think that is done. I'm going to do the shield now, and then just take it off the holder so I can do his feet, and then I'm just running the edge of my brush along the inside of the shield just to catch all of the edges here. And you can see I'm just using the side of my brush. There we go. it's always fun to figure out ways that you can make these types of characters interesting, or these minis. A character that is all one color, or primarily a single tone. How do you make that interesting? What do you do? I just painted over into the brown, so I'm gonna have to go back and touch that up again. What do you do in order to kind of differentiate and delineate the areas? So we're gonna find some ways to do that on him. Him having this cloak obviously really helps, but even miniatures who have a lot of armor, like knights or paladins, that's a lot of silver, a lot of metal, so finding creative ways to kind of mix it up and change it up, it's always fun. Take them off the base now, or off the holder I should say, so I can get the inside kind of under areas that are hard to access while he's on that holder. So fun too. Warforged have these 2 toes, like Ninja Turtles. And I think they only have 3 digits as well. Yeah, 3 digits. Ninja Turtle feet and hands. So fun. Okay. I missed somewhere on the back here. A little tempted to paint him as Iron Man, but that'd be fun. Red and gold Warforged. Okay, so got a little areas painted over a little bit onto some of the brown, but I'm gonna go through and fix that up right away. I only had a little bit of brown on my palette, so it's dried for the most part. Warforged are from the Eberron campaign setting, and they are, for those of you who just arrived, they are constructs who are created for war. I don't know a lot past that other than the fact that they are constructs created for war that have a consciousness. I believe it's a human consciousness. I don't know, and somebody can correct me, I don't know if they can only have a human consciousness transferred, or if it's possible for them to have kind of an AI, an artificial intelligence or consciousness. Please let me know. Okay, so that is all of the metallic. We're gonna go back in here on Callie, and I don't know if I'm gonna do the metallic on here, but I'm gonna let the gunmetal dry on Sterling first, and then I'm going to come back on Callie and add some somber gray. So somber gray is obviously a gray color, and it is a darker kind of blue gray, which I love. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint her. Oh, I'm going to paint her a lot of her armor with this. So that's going to be the color I use on most of her torso. I'm doing this color next because it's under a lot of what we, it's under some of what we painted and over some of what we painted, so it was a logical kind of next step for me, color choice wise, before I get too ahead of myself and then have a hard time kind of getting into these areas. These are PC minis, so typically I would spend personally, if I wasn't just trying to kind of get them done in a certain amount of time for the stream, because we want it for tomorrow, I would take a little bit more time on them. We painted the Frost Giant. We took 3 episodes to do that, because Harshnag was a character that shows up in Storm King's Thunder fairly often, and that is a miniature that was designed after that character, so we wanted to spend a bit more time, but I've said many times before that my kind of approach to D&D miniatures in general is, you know, paint to the value that that kind of miniature will give you on the tabletop. So, you know, if that miniature is only going to show up once in your campaign or twice in your campaign, keep that in mind when considering how much time you want to spend painting that miniature. You know, if it's a reoccurring NPC or a main villain, you may want to spend a bit more time on it. Take a bit more time on it. You know, if it's a big baddie or a dragon, that's kind of a major encounter, you may want to spend a bit more time on it. For the most part, you know, we paint most of the minis we paint on the show in the 2-hour time frame that we have. But sometimes we cut it close, and sometimes we have time left to kind of read monster stats, but for the most part, that's kind of our rule of thumb. Here is what can I do in a 2-hour time period, because there's so many awesome D&D minis available that we want to get as many on the table as we possibly can. Okay, I'm going to get the sleeves here, and then I'm going to take her off this holder because it's going to be difficult to get the legs and such while it's on the holder. So I'm just taking somber gray and I'm painting all of kind of the inner areas, pants, this little area in front, all of that. And then as well, the back of the arm here. Are you guys enjoying the epic Sirenscape music? Typically I play like some sound effects and stuff. That's fun, like Fireball. We use Sirenscape and all, and they're actually, I didn't say it yet, like to announce, and you probably saw it in the intro, that Sirenscape is our main title sponsor for Into the Mist. We use it for all our streams, and it adds, in my opinion, so much immersion. You know, when all of a sudden I kind of switch to a dark, foreboding sound, the players, the countenance at the table changes. And I can do, you know, with sound what I have to really take a long time to describe. So it becomes a storytelling tool that I can use. I'm also on Facebook here, but I haven't been taking a look. Let's see. Hello, Kelly. Welcome. Michael Kramer. Lane Wood. Yes, Lane Wood. I am using the Game Color line. Our preferred paint line. Pyromancer appeared, right? Players in your games can tell how important an NPC is to you by the detail of your paint job. Yeah, thank you for the follow. Again, for those of you that follow us on our RealmSmith Twitch channel, this little potion will do that every time that you guys do that. They usually have their own consciousness, wondering if they have souls. There isn't set explanation of how they brought to life, so I took some liberties with Sterling being able to have his consciousness placed into the shell. That is Brandon speaking on behalf of Sterling, who will be playing in our campaign tomorrow night. So stay tuned and tune in for that. Okay. I probably should have done her scabbard brown as well, I think. Actually, you know what? I am not. I am going to do it this gray color. And I'm starting to see some areas that I missed before, so I'll come back in and address those after with some heavy sienna, using a bit of a larger brush for this. And you guys will find, as you start to get more confident painting, you'll find that you use larger and larger brushes and just more precise strokes. And it's amazing how much time you save by using a larger brush. Basically until you absolutely cannot anymore. And you kind of get to know when that kind of, I don't want to say breaking point, when that point is. I'm going to take it off the miniature now, or off the holder, so that I can really get in here. Oh, that's all supposed to be somber gray as well. Somber gray is kind of like the perfect paint title for a Curse of Strahd character. Somber gray, just like the mists. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. I'm trying to paint inside the gray area, sorry, inside under the tabard with this gray color now. And again, it was a tough decision whether or not I should go heavy sienna on the legs or the tabard first, based on, obviously I chose the heavy sienna first, and now I think I made the right decision, but getting through to the back of the legs on the other side is going to be really interesting here, like this. But I think it'll be okay. I may just have to go in and touch up, or just put my brush in there at a really extreme angle. And again, I mean, you know, any player who's going to pick up their miniature, or a miniature you've painted at the table, and be like, you didn't paint the inside, I'm not playing this game anymore. I mean, the fact that you're painting miniatures at your table, I think, is a pretty awesome thing, folks. So don't get discouraged about missing certain areas, or okay. Going in and just touching up some of the heavy sienna areas that I kind of missed. Now that I have the contrast of the gray beside it, I can kind of see where some of the areas kind of end or start. So I can kind of go back in and touch up some of those areas. The back of the hood for sure. I can see some primer still through it. And that's why I suggest when you're base coating, don't be afraid to overlap the seams between areas, because then you don't get any primer showing. Some somber gray in the front again. I'm just touching up some areas. But I noticed there's back here where the hood kind of ends. I had it a little too far over. There we go. And then under the arm over here. There we go. There. Okay, so she is pretty much base coated on her clothing and her armor. I'm kind of liking the way it's looking, to the point where I think it might be time for a wash on it. Maybe not. Maybe not just yet. How's our Warforged doing? How's Sterling doing? Is good. So he is ready for a wash, I think. Actually, you know what? I'm going to base coat his cloak first with yellow olive. It is a kind of a military kind of green color. We have a question from Mikey83. Question: is Syrinscape going to have a sound pack for the Curse of Strahd campaign available, similar to some of the other D&D campaigns? That's a good question. That is a question we will absolutely ask Syrinscape next time we chat with them, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to use this yellow olive to base coat the cloak. And I thought I wanted to use this color. This was the color actually with the D&D kind of reference material, the Warforged that appears, I think, in the Eberron source book. He's got kind of a green cloak. I could use something with a bit more color, but I figure Sterling's story is that he kind of he's been wandering a little in the woods, and before he was transported to Barovia. So the idea here for me is that I just wanted something that was a natural colored, kind of drab a little bit, that he would have just kind of like picked off a clothesline, or I don't know if he would have stolen it, but I guess the idea is just something common, that it wouldn't be too extravagant for him. This is going to be fun. The inside of this cloak is not going to be easy. So I'm just going to twist it at whatever angles I need to in order to try and get the base coat in there. Once I have the base coat, then I'll just probably use a wash in the inside of this cloak. Just because it is the inner area, so it is going to be in a fair amount of shadow. Getting right up under this cloak is not easy. Oh, I think I did it. Woo! Also try not to get the back of him as well, but it's happening, which I think is okay. Because again, nobody's going to see right up in the corner there of his back. But putting the brush like this. Sorry folks, I know you can't see what I'm doing here because I'm literally twisting this miniature at very odd angles to get up into the cloak here, and you have to do that sometimes just to these one-piece miniatures that WizKids has. It makes it very easy, obviously, to put on your table and paint and go, because you don't have to assemble them, and you don't have to prime them, you don't have to glue them together. It's great for those reasons, but sometimes it makes it a little difficult to get all the angles and get all the areas. Okay, there. Inside of the cloak is done. Not sure how I did that, but I did. And then the back of his cloak. Now this we want to be nice and smooth, so I have diluted the paint a decent amount, just a little bit. I'm adding a little bit of water every time, and it just makes it nice and smooth. It is fabric. There isn't a lot of texture to it, so I like it to be smooth, because the smoother the base coat is, the smoother the highlights will be. And this is one of the areas on this miniature that we can really kind of do some fun blending and highlights with. There was a moment last stream where Sterling was telling his kind of a bit of a story, and Callie, played by Melanie, who was the other person we're painting tonight, Mel started, she's like, I'm starting to cry a little bit. It's very funny, very cute. All right. There we go. And like I said, folks, if you roll over, for those of you that are just joining us, for those of you that roll over the Twitch video on our Twitch channel at RealmSmith, you will see that you can see the characters, the D&D Beyond overlay. So you can access the characters there, take a look at their cheats and their stats if you're interested. If you want to learn more about the characters before tomorrow night's episode, do that. And then while you're over there, feel free to follow as well to light up this little potion bottle. So much fun when people do that. All right. Okay, so that is completely base coated. Next, we're going to do a wash on that. As soon as that green dries, we'll be doing a wash. Question, Oh, we already asked that question. Cool. Let's get Callie back on this. I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to pick out all of those little pouches and everything so that we can do a wash on this. It's already 6 o'clock, so we want to make sure that we get all of this done. We only have an hour, just over an hour left. So I'm just going to go through with my number 0 brush and do my best to kind of pick out all the straps, and like I said, the pouches. And then once that's dry, we'll do it all over those areas and all over black wash of the areas that will be those colors. And then I'll come in with some leather brown to differentiate some other areas, and then we'll be using a sepia wash for those leather brown areas, and then we can add some highlights and such. But there you go. This belt comes around the back. Again, I'm using heavy sienna for this, which is an extra opaque paint from the Vallejo Game Color line. And here we use pretty much, I don't think we've ever used any of their other lines. It's everything we use is pretty much from the Game Color line, except for some of the environment effects, actually, now that I think about it. All the paint we use is from their Game Color line. Okay, so... And this also helps me, doing it this way also helps me to kind of block out the colors and find out if I have enough contrast in certain areas between large sections, things like that really helps. Okay, so that is that. I'm going to go ahead actually as well and paint her weapons so that when I do that black wash, I can just go over the weapons as well. She's got a dagger in one hand and a short sword in the other. Now Callie has 2 daggers. She thought about cutting down this one, but you never know what she'll pick up along the way. So I decided to keep it. Especially for those of you that are collecting these out there and want to know how to paint the miniature as is. The Aasimar race is pretty cool too. Always wanted to play one, but I would play it like a straight, like Aasimar Paladin. I'm a purist that way. And Mel's approach to playing it is so cool. Mel's also the noob at the table, which is fun. It's always fun to have somebody who's brand new, who literally she's played D&D maybe 2 or 3 times. This is the second stream she's ever played on. The first stream she ever played on was, oh geez, years ago. And so it's always fun to have somebody new at the table, and that excitement of a new player. Kind of the first time they, oh, welcome. Thank you for the follow. There. All right, so the rest I could pick out afterwards. So the rest of the metal areas I can pick out afterwards after I do my wash and all of that sort of thing. So, and then obviously now her skin needs to get done too, but I'm gonna do a wash on that first. So we'll go back to, he's still a little wet here, so I'm actually gonna leave, Sterling for a second, just while he dries a little longer, and I'm gonna add the wash to Callie. Black wash, we're gonna give it a good shake. add some to her palette, and I'm going to dilute this a fair amount, 2 or 3 kind of dips, just because she has such dark colors already. I don't want it to be super dark. So what we're using here is the black wash from the Game Color line. And what washes do, for those of you that are new, basically you manipulate them onto your miniature and they add shadows by kind of resting in the recesses. The wash seeps into those deepest areas of your miniature and adds natural shadows. It's quite magical, and this is, I think, where the magic happens for me, and where a miniature really starts to come together and look like less like kind of paint by numbers sort of primary colors and such, and starts to really get some depth, and you start to see the detail really come out on a miniature at this point too. It's a lot of fun. So love this stage and this process of the wash. It's always been one of my favorites. And then washes take a little bit of time to dry, so we want to make sure, longer than paints do, just because they're obviously more wet. And so we want to make sure that we get these washes on as quick or as early as possible so that we have enough time for them to dry here to be able to kind of finish the rest of the miniature. There. Okay. Beautiful. So that is now all the wash on. You can see the cool kind of texture in the armor there. All that stuff. So we're gonna let that dry now, and that'll take a little bit to dry, and I like it because I wanted that kind of dark gray tone for the armor, which really turned out nice. So we're gonna let that go. Yeah, that turned out great. Okay, put Callie down, grab Sterling. Again, folks, we're painting 2 character minis in 2 hours. I'm not really rushing just yet. I might go into turbo mode near the end to finish it up, but... Okay, so here we go. Black wash on Sterling. And he's going to get an all-over black wash. Basically, every part of the miniature will get this wash. The washes are matte in color, or in finish, sorry. So they will take the shininess out a little bit, but it does bring out a lot of the detail. So we'll have to come back in after with silver, is the plan, to kind of highlight and make it a really nice shiny mini. Sterling as a character, as you can see kind of in the concept art at the bottom of the screen there, is a silver Warforged, has not seen battle as a Warforged. Like previous to our story, so he's fairly new looking, shiny and new. With the cloak, I'm going to put it on and I'm just going to manipulate it down through the folds. You want to let it pool in the recesses, but not too. Well, you want to let it seep into the recesses a little bit, but you don't want it to pool too much, because if it does that, it's going to start to kind of hide some of the detail. You don't want that. You just want it to kind of seep into the recesses and add that dark contrast into the deepest areas of those recesses. You can really see some of that detail starting to come out. And I'm going to try and get some into the inside of the cloak here, which is going to be fun. But it's actually easier than painting because I'm not worried about getting it anywhere else because we're doing it all over dry brush, or sorry, all over wash. Dry brush comes later. Okay, there. Okay, so he has, I did not get the inside of the shield or the hand. There. There. Okay, so he is going to dry. They're going to dry. An hour and 10 minutes in, folks. We have 50 minutes to finish these off. Think we can do it? While this wash is drying, I'm not going to lose any time. Here we go. Cadmium skin is what I'm going to use for Callie's face. There's a lighter skin tone. Okay. All right, so again, we're going to get a really cool contrast between the dark armor of the rogue and the kind of lustrous skin of the Aasimar. Now, we could have chosen all kinds of colors and such for her skin, but she just wanted to be kind of lustrous, perfect skin tone, so that's what we're going for here. Okay, so that is the base of her skin. Just like that. Then her skin is done from a base coat perspective. We use cadmium skin for that. I'm going to use rosy flesh for her hair. Now, this is probably going to look a lot like her skin tone. I mean, the tone's quite different, but I just want to make sure that it looks almost like it's kind of a rose gold color that her skin is, and this is kind of the perfect tone for that, I think. So, and I'll probably use different washes to differentiate her hair from her skin, or maybe the same wash but then different highlights. We'll see. But I wanted to have kind of this pinkish sort of hair. And you can see it kind of looks similar, but there is some difference. And the lights in here kind of make it hard to see that, but look how cool the color in her hair. It's hard to see that tone, isn't it? This light. It's a lot darker here in person. There we go. She's got a white streak in her hair as well. We'll bring that back with some of the off-white that we have with this, but I may even use a sepia, a mix of the flesh wash and sepia wash on her hair. There we go. Go. So we've got kind of this pink hair tone for the Aasimar Rogue. Which again is a really cool contrast to the dark browns of her armor. Alright, so that is that. Now I have to decide which parts, while that dries, the wash is dry, so I want to decide which parts of her armor I want to make kind of the lighter brown areas and which parts I want to make the darker brown areas. I think I want her tabard area to be lighter, although the dark really looks cool at this point. Interesting. I think I'm going to use leather brown. We're going to do an overbrush on this. And I'll explain what that is in a second. So dry brush, you wipe off all the paint and then you kind of gently brush the brush over, and that creates a kind of weathering effect. An overbrush is you load a brush and then you just basically brush it over just the top edges and it will bring out those details. So it's kind of like a dry brush, but it's just more wet. But I think I'm gonna do an overbrush on these pads. Yeah, I feel like that. Because it's kind of chainmail, but it almost now looks like a woven, almost like a samurai armor. And I kind of like it. There. So that's lighten that up, and I like that a lot actually. That worked. And I may give it a sepia wash after. Again, that's just giving it a little bit more. And I'll give that a sepia wash after, I think, like I said. Because I really do like kind of the dark brown of the... Maybe. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some more heavy sienna. No, the mini holder that I'm using is from another company. It's a Games Workshop mini holder. Okay, so we're going to get some heavy sienna. We're going to mix in some leather brown. And alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use heavy sienna mostly with a little bit of leather brown in here. I'm going to start my first highlight. Not a lot of time for highlighting, but basically I'm just going to run it down the edges of this tabard here. And you can see it's really starting to come out. I'm using the edge of my brush catch that very edge. There. Do that on the front. And these larger areas is where you can really kind of show some of that brushwork and bring some interest to the miniature. Like that. I'm also going to do the same on the hood. Again, just brushing it along the tops of the folds. And then also I'm going to do the same on her shoulders. And that's the lightest though that'll go on the shoulders. I want the shoulders and her gloves to be a darker kind of leather color. We're going to use some tan as a final highlight for her gloves and her boots, but for right now we're going to use this mix just to bring in some highlights on all of those surfaces there, like that. There we go. I'm also going to do the same thing I just did there on the bigger pouch areas, some of the belts. Basically I'm just highlighting some of those areas. Okay. Like that. All right. Now, I've done that. I may put her down for a sec and give her a flesh wash. Flesh wash is again another Game Color wash. it's a little thicker than the others, so or a little thinner than the others, I should say. So I tend to go a little heavier with it. Using my number 2 brush. I like a larger brush area. I'm gonna paint it over her skin. You can see how that really brought out the texture in her skin, and then also over her hair. If I need to come back with her hair for one more, I will, but you can see there obviously how all of a sudden that texture in that hair really comes out. Like that. There we go. And then also under her as well, make sure that you get into the recess there and under her neck for her skin. There. Okay. All right. And then hopefully when that dries, we can add some eyes in there. Getting short on time, so hopefully we have the time to do so. Okay. There. All right. Put her down for a second here. Back to Sterling, who is way dark. So, in order to fix that, we are going to go ahead with silver. We're going to do something called the dry brush. Dry brush is a bit of more of a square, kind of wider brush with bristles that are much more durable. What we're going to do basically is load the tip of the brush with silver paint and then wipe most of it off on the paper towel. I always say this, but it seems counterintuitive, but basically what we're doing is we're basically just making it so that there's dry residue on that brush. And without hitting the green and brown areas, we're going to brush that color over all of the metal areas on the miniature. Now what that's going to do is it's going to catch the uppermost detail and really lighten up those areas quite a bit. We're probably going to have to come back in here and do some kind of like actual line highlights on him, but for the most part this will do a lot of work. You want to be careful not to hit, like I said, the brown areas, because you'll often get silver flecks kind of coming off this, so be kind of careful, but there it is. And that's lightened him quite a bit. Then while that's drying, which is almost already dry, it's a dry brush, so you don't have to worry about it too much, but I'm going to come back in with some yellow olive, and then I'm going to add some camouflage green to that. And that's what I'm going to use to add some highlights to his cloak. So a little bit of yellow olive with some camouflage green. What we're going to do here is wide strokes down the center of these kind of large areas like that. Kind of hitting the peaks of his cloak, and then we're going to get progressively lighter on the color as we go. For right now, we're sticking mostly to a mix of, almost a 50-50 mix of yellow olive and camouflage green. But soon we're gonna transition to a brighter color. So there we go. You can see what's happening there. Now I'm going to take a slightly thinner brush. This is a number 1. And I'm going to add more camo green to that yellow olive. A little bit of water. And then straight down the middle of this. That's going to add an additional highlight to those areas. And I'm just using the edge of my brush for the top here where the hood kind of is, or where it bunches. I'm not sure if it's a hood or not, but where it bunches. Then I will get my zero brush with pretty much pure camo green, diluted quite a bit so that it blends, and I'm just going to come down the very center of these, closer to the bottom, in the areas that would catch the most light, especially the edge here. There's a bit too much there, but what I can do is I can go in, wet brush that is dry, and just wipe off and blend. Look at that. Thank you for the follow. And then like that. There we go. That pretty much is his cloak done. I don't think we want to go any higher than that or any lighter than that. I think that's looking decent for his green cloak. I didn't do any of the inside. I might just grab kind of the inside here, maybe just where light would, and I definitely want to get the edge here of the cloak. But that's it. Okay. There we go. Now I am going to go back through here, and he is almost done. Maybe we should just take him to completion. I think that's the plan. I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to take silver. Half an hour left, not too bad. There's still silver that is wet in the palette. A little bit of water. And we're basically now going to kind of highlight the main edges of his armor using silver. Just checking in on our Facebook folks. Cool, Shannon's in New Jersey right now. Cool, awesome. Perfect. It was so cool to be at PAX Unplugged and meet a lot of the regulars that watch our shows, and they joined us for our master classes. It was a blast. Those shows are always great. It's always great to meet people who you've been kind of friends with and interacting with online for so long, and then all of a sudden you get the opportunity to meet them in real life. It's pretty surreal. Like I said, taking that silver and just touching kind of the upper edges of the armor, of that Warforged armor. You guys can hear Bruno. He's just chewing his paws over there. Poor guy, he's got allergies. I'm having a bit of a hard time just not letting this miniature kind of look like a mass of gray silver. So I'm trying to really get in here and highlight some of the edges. Okay, and go. Again, just adding kind of an edge highlight here to the shield. It stands out. And basically just doing a line along the edges and on the top ends of an armor plate. So we'll do a line there, I'll do a line up here, and that will just help to delineate some of these plates. So it's not all just one, like I said, one massive. I'm going to do his brow here, top of his head, cheeks, his cute metallic cheeks. On this side, I'm going to do his cheek, jaw, his ear area. Then I am going to highlight the front of his face and his chin. And that will bring out a little bit of that. And then when I add some blue eyes, hopefully it'll... Then, actually, I'm going to go right in with tan. And I'm going to highlight the sinew in the joints. I'm going to go straight tan because there isn't a lot of room at all to highlight anything, but I'm just going to like touch some of these in here, and that hopefully, yeah, it's doing what I wanted it to do, which is, and I'm not necessarily hitting each strand, but I'm trying my best to do so. And that is, actually that worked really nicely to kind of just separate, again, those plates and add some depth, some delineation in there. I'm going to get this one down his neck, and the main one, the one behind it, one in front, that. Actually, that's really helping too. You can see how it's helping to bring it all up. I could even, if I wanted to, I could give that a wash after to bring it more down to a brown color, but I think that worked. I might just come in here to do a couple between there. On the back of his arm here, a couple little lines, the lines on the back, and then the back of his leg here as well. There. Well, he's coming along. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead. He's almost done here. I might draw some, I might paint some, I try some wood grain on his shield. A little advanced freehanding. I don't know how this is gonna look, but we're gonna find out. I don't do a lot of freehanding, so we'll see. You want to be really light with this. You don't want to be too heavy-handed. I have this big flat area. That turned out pretty okay, I think. That was alright. It's a little too exaggerated, cartoony perhaps, but that's okay. There, just add a couple more lines in there, and that worked out alright. For a wooden shield. What do you think is for next week's painting, Jason? Any chance for spectator and gazers? Ooh, maybe. Maybe, puppy lover. Maybe we will do that. Okay, so I think that worked. That looks all right. The wood shield actually adds quite a bit to it that I didn't expect it to add. All right, so I am maybe going to do one more highlight. I don't have a lot of time here, cutting it close, but I'm going to do one more highlight of pure camo green on his cloak, just to really bring out kind of the very edges of what would be catching the most light. There. Thank you for the follow. I need like a follow catchphrase that I say every time somebody follows us on our channel and lights that potion bottle. Okay, so there we go. That is sterling. I'm gonna do quick. You can see his cloak is really popping now. I'm gonna do quick blue eyes with electric blue. Now electric blue is a nice light blue. I'm gonna basically dot his eyes. This will give him some intelligence. Like that. His other eye. Like that. And then I might dot it with an off-white just in the middle to make it look like it's kind of like a glowing blue eye. That's my plan anyways. See how this goes. Question, any suggestions for how to give some visual depth when working with a white cloak? How would you go about highlighting white? Also, a great question. Depends if it's an antique white or if it's like a pure white. So for me, all of my kind of like medieval sort of cloaks or clothing or parchment or anything like that, I do bone white with a wash of sepia and then highlight with bone white up to off-white. That's my plan usually for like an antique color. Hang on, I gotta focus here for his eyes. Too much. That's okay. There. And that is sterling, folks. You can see him tomorrow night on Into the Mist. And the follow. Thank you. All right. So that is sterling. We're going to put him aside for now. We'll go back to Callie and finish her up real quick in the next 20 minutes. I think we can do it. I'm going to go back to her skin now that we've washed it with a flesh wash. I'm going to just do kind of a final highlight here. We'll get her cheek here. Both cheeks. Forehead. Nose. And chin. And those are kind of the areas I usually hit to make a, I don't know how close I can get for this face, but those are the areas I usually hit in order to kind of bring a face out. Sometimes a chin there, and then I will add a little bit of a line on the neck coming down. But that is Callie's face, which I don't know if you can see there, but there is quite a bit of contrast in there between that and the hair. So I think I'm going to leave her hair almost the way that it is, except for that white streak that we'll add in afterwards, I think. Haven't quite decided yet, but I think so. Maybe I'll add a little bit of a lighter pink. Bruno was he's behind me, just chilling and snorting. God bless him. Okay. What do we want to do here for Callie to finish her off? I'm going to add the Glorious Gold. So we've got Glorious Gold from Game Color. Obviously, they're gold color. I'm going to use that for those little kind of coins, or the jewelry kind of she has coming off the front of her armor here. I'm going to paint all of those kind of this goldish color, which I think will be really nice. Callie also has like a piercing, and you can see there a nose ring, so kind of fits with her motif. There. So that really kind of added something to it. Nice. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm trying to decide where else to put some gold here. I may paint that little line there gold on her clothing. Maybe the line on her armor. I'm just gonna actually make these pop a little bit more first and then decide. No, actually I'm gonna keep those the way they are. I'm just trying to look at maybe some of these buckles. I'll maybe make this buckle gold because it's a large buckle. That's a cool gold buckle there. And then maybe the buckle over here on this pouch will be gold. This kind of there's like a ring on the outside of her gauntlet. Make that gold and make this one gold as well. I think that looks all right. One sec, folks. I think Bruno is into the sunflower seeds that were left over there. So I just need to get him away from them. One sec. Bruno, don't you know I'm on a time limit? Don't you understand that I'm trying to paint 2 characters in a night, in 2 hours? Oh, jeez. Here's the troublemaker. Look at that face. Doesn't that face look like the face of a troublemaker? Bruno, look at the camera. Say hi to everybody. No? Not so much? Okay. Go. He's a monkey. Alright, it's just a big potato. Alright. Okay. Greetings, Florida. Question. Any I already answered that question. Alright, so that is Callie's really coming along here. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what to do. I kind of like the brown tones, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of the tan color that we talked about before, and I'm going to start to line some of the pouches with that. So what that's going to do is just going to make it look like the highlight on the pouch there. I'm going to add a little bit of heavy cyan on that too. With that. A little bit of water. Okay. Like I said, just little lines along the edges of the pouches just to highlight them a bit. If you can't get a line on there because it's too fine, then a horizontal line works too. Also gonna use that here, I think. Yeah, that looks cool. On the toe of her boot. Like that. I'm also gonna do it on kind of the ankle and then up the back of the boot there as well. Like that. And these little lines just do a lot to add some delineation from the areas, from one area to another. Along her strap here. I did this along the front. I haven't done it along the back yet. There we go. Okay. Hit these straps in the back with just a line along the top, like that. Those are very fine lines I just added there on the top of that belt, but that will really help to give, again, some depth and delineate those from the rest of the miniature. One final highlight on the back of the hood here. I think that's looking really good. We're close to done anyways, at least. So, okay, then I'm gonna grab some silver again. And with the silver, now I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do all the buckles. So, just gonna basically touch the buckles here that are on her belt. There's a buckle up here, like that. We've got some rivets and such. I don't know if I'm gonna try and do that. I'll leave the rivets. I will do the end of the sword though in silver. It looks like it's got a metal protective part on the sword there. And then also up top on the sword, right where it goes in, we're gonna paint that silver as well. There. Now I was gonna do some stuff, kind of a lighter leather brown, but I don't know. I kind of like the dark colors I have here on her. I think it's working. I think it's working nicely. I think if there's anything I can use that for, I don't think there is. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Okay, so what I will do then, with the time we have left, is I am going to go back to somber gray. And I'm going to highlight the inner armor that she's got on. And basically, just kind of like we did with the tan, we're going to go through on the inner parts of her armor and just add little highlights. So on the knee there, some of the fine or the front areas of the folds in her pants, you can see how that all of a sudden really brought out those. I'm going to do a line up along the edge of her armor there on that side, bring out that kind of fold. That side. Right there. A little line in the middle here where her armor comes together. Do a little line kind of down the center of her armor. Turning her around on her shoulder here, we'll do a couple of these lines of the folds. The bottom edge of the armor here, that's a great way, sorry, a great way to add some depth there is to just do a line across the bottom. And then I also want to try and delineate these, not the plates, but the layers on the back, because I mean it's probably plate, we're making it leather, but I think the intention is for it to be kind of metal. But there, just adding lines along the main areas, and that adds tons of depth. Just little tiny lines along all of it. She's really come together, this one. Am I painting dog next? I should. I should. Okay. I'm going to do her eyes and just see how that kind of brings it all together, and then decide if I want to go in and do more. I kind of really like her color, the color choices as they exist. So, and I might make the ground kind of a light leather brown color so that it doesn't Yeah, that's good. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go in, do her eyes, which is always fun. So I'm gonna get some off-white, touch of water, because you don't want to have to jam it in there in order to get the paint to transfer. So I'm just taking little dabs of water until it's diluted to the point that I want. Get a really fine tip on that by rotating your brush as you bring it off your palette. And then I come in from the edge like this and try and get, this isn't gonna work, like that. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, find kind of the finest tip of that brush. That. It's one eye. And then I turn her around to get her other eye here. There. Did that work? It did. Okay, that's the whites of her eyes. Hard to see on here, but they're there. Now, her eyes are a gold color, as you can see in the reference material, but obviously that's not going to come across. So we're just going to use tan for that, actually. Tan will be nice, because it'll make them look kind of unnatural. And we've had some good kind of experience. We've had a good experience with the tan so far today, so, geez. When doing, I've mentioned before, when doing detail work like this, I always rest my hand on the miniature or on my other hand. Not getting enough paint transferring, which means it's not quite wet enough, or I don't have enough paint on the brush. Let's try that again. There. There we go. It's very subtle, but her eyes are dotted. They're not the dark kind of dots that we usually put on eyes, but that's okay, because she's got these kind of light eyes, so that works for me. I am going to take some of that off-white, mix it with some of that rosy flesh. And just add a couple highlights to the hair. Just to kind of make it stick out a little bit on top. There, I'm just doing fine lines down the hair on top like that. Down the crown of the head. Like that. And then I'm also going to add a couple on here. Like that. And then I think that's good. A bit more exaggerated right on the top of the head on either side of the part. That. And then I'm going to add that white streak that she has. It's on her left side. I'm basically just going to use straight off white. I think that's the streak right there, so I'm just going to do like that and have it come down like that. There. Perfect. I think she's done. I didn't take off a little bit of the sword tip here, I think. So I'm just gonna paint that again. I'm gonna bring in some more silver closer to the edge at the bottom. Just work in some silver here to brighten the tip of that sword. Actually, I'm gonna do that over there on the other side as well. Just realized how dark they are. They don't have any sort of highlight on them. It should be glinting. A bit more silver here. 4 minutes. 2 minis in 2 hours, folks. It's not, if you follow those same sorts of techniques, you can get the same effects. We're not doing anything super complicated here. And there it is. There's Callie the Aasimar. Now for her base, I'm just going to cover it with, before I end tonight, after the stream, I'm going to cover it with leather brown and then a sepia wash, and that's it. And then she is ready to go, along with our Warforged friend here. And that is, I'll hold him this way, and that is Sterling and Callie from our Into the Mist Curse of Strahd campaign. Thanks everyone for watching as usual. Thanks to our partners, of course, Vallejo for the awesome paints, WizKids for the minis, and D&D for hosting us today. It's been really incredible. It's been a lot of fun. That is 29 episodes. The next episode is going to be our 30th of Nolzur's. Next week, not sure what we're painting next. We might be painting the Gazers and the Spectator. We've gotten some requests for that, so hopefully. Please, if you like what you see, follow us on D&D Twitch, and also follow us at RealmSmith Twitch. That's twitch.tv/RealmSmith. If you do that at any time during any of our streams, everything lights up purple, and it's a lot of fun, and you can see what you did in real time. Tomorrow night for our stream, though, I will say this really quick. We're introducing an interactive aspect to our show. And what that is basically if you donate to Extra Life, you can send items to the players in the game world. And so you can actually affect the game world and help them out and do a little bit of good. So we'll be doing that tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is Into the Mist. Don't miss it. Thanks to everyone. You can check out the VOD of this later this week. I'll probably upload it on Tuesday along with last week's episode. Hope you guys had a good time. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll play our intro for tomorrow's Into the Mist right now. With our new main title sponsor, Sirenscape. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, there's a follow. We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care, guys.